What is going on, parents? Hey, welcome back to another podcast, Teenager Tuesday. And that's actually that's the new song we're doing for Teenager Tuesday. But we are doing another culture update for you. My name is Elijah Keck. I'm the student pastor at the McKinney campus. And let me introduce you to our special guest today. His name is Zach Artis. He's been at Hope for his whole life. No, I'm just kidding. Just for a long time. He works here at Hope. Zach, what is your job? I actually don't know the title.
My title is Operations Coordinator.
Yes, he's in charge of operations. He runs this operation. But he used to work with students.
Yeah.
He was a resident, worked at Prosper. So you've been around the block a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The people know you. The people have been begging for this podcast.
Yeah.
The parents. Well, today we have a special episode for you guys. We're going to get very specific about something that is massive right now with students and just really society and culture, because this is the culture update. And so I had to bring Zach in because this is something I am not versed in. This isn't something I live out in my life, but he is actually in the midst of it. And that is drug. I'm just kidding. It is shoe culture.
Yeah, sneaker culture.
Sneaker culture.
There you go.
So you would consider yourself a sneakerhead.
Yeah, I would say so, for sure.
For the parents out there who are like, what does this all mean? Can you explain what is a sneakerhead and kind of like, when did this start?
Yeah. So I feel like, it's it's a fashion statement, right? For any kid that walks into high school, people look at each other's shoes. They look at what you wear. But for myself, I'd always grown up playing sports. I played soccer, and so for me, it all started when I would buy soccer cleats. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, man, I want the next best material. I want the lightest shoe. But I always had I don't know. I always I wanted loud stuff, and what that means, even in sneaker culture, is I wanted something that would draw attention, not necessarily for myself, but for conversations. And so, what is that? What is sneakers? What does that even mean for students now? It's not just oh well, yeah, I'm gonna put my sneakers on. We're gonna go run outside. You get anything and everything. And so really what captured me is Jordans after high school and college, when I had a little bit more money to get my own shoes, and someone actually gave me a pair of Jordan 1s, and that's really where it started.
Yeah.
It was they were something that was given to me. It was free. I got to rock them, and then I was like, oh man, I gotta have another one.
Yeah. How many, this is just random, maybe you don't know, how many pairs of sneakers do you have?
Ooh, I'm honestly asked this question a lot because my wife would be mad at me too, because she's not mad at me, but she's like, she's like, why do you have so many shoes? And then she's like, oh yeah, tell how many shoes you have. So I'd probably say, in shoes that I actually wear, all my shoes that I buy them to wear. Where some sneakerheads, you'd say, they buy them to collect them. That's part of sneaker culture as well. But I would have about, I think it's 47 that I actually wear consistently.
That's the big dollars right there, guys. 47.
Overtime.
That's right, overtime. So let me kind of backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, so shoe culture is really this culture that's happened. I don't know when this started. I think the last few years it's kind of exploded. But definitely in the last 10 years where, students and younger, and I think, to be honest with you, I think a bunch of this started with African-American culture, basketball culture.
Oh, for sure.
And then that also that's kind of moved into just regular teenage culture now, where it's every student comes in and they're rocking Dunks, Jordans, whatever is popping, Kobe's, just these crazy shoes, and they all know the names of them, and they're like, oh my gosh, you got the new Jordan 500s. It's they know everything. And so I think it's pretty crazy that this is a thing. And at first, I'll be honest, I think I wanted to fight this, because there's a part of me that's like, man, why do they need so many shoes? Why do they need to have the newest, nicest thing? But I'm starting to see the side of it that students, it's more of just a community thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you find that in your life?
I think the cool thing is too, like you said, it's just like you said, I think in students, especially where we live, I mean, just in affluent, like, uh, kids are well off in the areas that, you guys get to do ministry in.
Yeah.
And not everybody, but that's kind of a generalization of like who we get to reach. But these kids that are younger, they're getting their hands on these things more and more often as like, oh, that's what I want, like as a gift. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, it started out of high school. But in this too, and like you said, like it is a family kind of vibe, you could say. Like that's why I love shoes. Is like,
yeah, like a community.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was at Walmart the other day. I'm wearing a pair of like these Dunks that I had gotten exclusive access. And for parents, what that is you have a Nike app, and basically the Nike app, it shows you all these upcoming releases for shoes. And every once in a while, I think it's when you spend a little bit more money on there, you get an exclusive access. It's supposed to be random, and you get to buy this shoe before anybody else does.
Yeah.
I was wearing this shoe, and then a Walmart employee stopped me. He's like, oh, how'd you get them like that? And then it started a conversation piece. And I really feel like you've seen it in students more and more, because there definitely is the hype culture where it's like kind of Elijah said, is like there's always going to be people that want the best stuff, right? They want to just get the most expensive thing because they can. But then there is where I think it's taking over more with students primarily, is like where they get to talk about it and share those stories. But you feel kind of like you're part of a family because it's something that's exclusive to you guys. You know?
It's like a collector's thing too. It's like you get to find the things that you like, those pieces that are different than your friends. And it's almost like how people would collect baseball cards or these other things back in the day. Now they're collecting shoes, and it's like a cool collection that they get to also wear and build that community around, which I think is fascinating. One thing I want to touch on, I know this we're not super long episodes for this. There's so much to go into with shoe culture, so we could do an hour on this, but we won't. But I want to talk about selling. Buying and selling. I don't know if you do this, but I know I've just seen tons of videos. We have students, 7th grader that goes to McKinney. He makes it like a job where he goes and buys shoes and then resells them.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what's going on with the reselling market of shoes?
It is. I mean, like you said, I think it's a cool way where students can get into something where they're actually working hard to get their own sneakers, and so it is. I would say with a young sneaker culture has always been there, like we talked about, but you're seeing it where younger kids, like these 7th graders, are getting into it, and not just, hey mom, I want this shoe. It's like, oh, I know everything about this shoe. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm going to sell this shoe so then I can get another one. Or a lot of them, yeah, you enjoy the sneakers themselves, but you're using it as a business. And so, I mean, that's all it is. You go to these things where they call like SneakerCon Dallas, or they have them in every city. And so I assume this kid that you saw is like, that's what he's doing. He's like getting these shoes. They try to get them for retail. So what they're going to release at their normal price. And because the value of they release all this product, and it's, supply and demand of like, oh man, I want that, but there's only a limited version. And so that 7th grade boy who got this sneaker on the sneakers app or whatever, he goes out to these consignment shops or these sneaker conventions, and then he can make more money, which is pretty cool.
It's a cool way to learn business stuff too, and like just excitement with that. Okay, I want to kind of end with talking just a little bit about kind of misconceptions. I think a lot of parents, they go into it and they hear their students talking about this, and they're like, why are they so obsessed with this? What is this? And so what are maybe from your perspective, what are some misconceptions of that parents might have or people might have about sneaker culture or sneakerheads?
I think, I mean, just like any group of people, it seems exclusive, which, sneakers are not, but if it's something that you like that's different than normal people, or your parents like, why would you spend that much money on a shoe? I think there's a misunderstanding of like, oh yeah, it's just a piece of plastic or a piece of leather, which is true in a sense. It is an object, and coming from just like a Christian point of view too, it's like, yeah, like you want to teach your kids, your students to be like good stewards of their money. But in my opinion of this too, it's like, hey, if you're going to work hard and save up and like that's what you want to spend your money on, then go for it. But when I think that is a misconception though, is it's not just a thing. Like it becomes a like we were talking about, the name of the podcast is sneaker culture. Like they're putting themselves in a new community. It's not just like, oh, I need to have this, which that's everywhere. You know, some
it's
kids
not just
are
like
going
a
to have
greed
that
thing or like wanting to look cool. It's like it's just a part of it's like a new community for them.
And you really do. You see it in everything. I mean, even when like you talk about Kobe and his shoe, and you know when he passed away, like it got even more popular. Well, a lot of people was like, oh, well, I play basketball, I know about Kobe's. Well, now like Kobe did a lot of collabs where he got with other designers within sneakers and did collabs with like Vans, which is a skateboarding shoe. And so it brings people together. I think there's always going to be a thought of like, oh, it's going to bring people apart and all it is to make money. Yeah, there's always going to be those people in any type of industry. But I would say, especially with these younger kids, like they start to come together in community, and it's something to talk about, which I think is really cool.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a cool thing. I think also for you as a parent, don't be as nervous about it. It's an awesome opportunity for you to ask your student about it, because if they're a part of this culture, they're going to want to talk about it and tell you more about it, even if you have no idea what they're talking about. Man, just listen and get to grow in that with them. I think it's a cool thing. Last question before we get done. You have a son. What's his best sneaker? Have you bought him any little baby sneakers yet?
Not yet. He has one pair of just like normal Nikes from like Academy that Kenna got, and the first thing I said to her, Kenna's my wife, is like, hey babe, like those aren't Jordans, we might have to take those back.
You need to get him some baby sneaks, man.
Oh yeah, we will once he starts walking a little more, for
you need to get him some Grinch Kobe's.
Oh, dude, I love that you know that. Bro.
I got the lingo down. Hey, as parents, it's just an awesome thing. Ask your students more about this if they're a part of it. What I love is that you see band kids and you see basketball and football players. There a lot of, I mean, anyone and everyone can wear sneakers, and it's a really cool thing that brings people together. So ask them about it. Don't be afraid of it. Remember that you can do this. You are not alone. God is with you, and so are we. We'll catch you next time.